Good morning, everybody. Let's start today's class. I think we have most of you today. No, we are not having something special, but we are to start today, right? Let's start with our prayer. So let's pray. Dear God, we give you thanks for permitting us to be here once more. Thank you for the life, for everything that we have, for the food, our parents, everything, sir. Thank you for allowing each and every one of us to be here safe and to have the opportunity to learn something every day. We give you thanks and ask for your guidance in today's lesson. May you help us in understanding and imparting knowledge to each and every one, sir. We ask for your blessing for each and every one of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay. So remember, please turn on your cameras. I know you're at home, maybe you're cold, but you should be turning on your cameras, right? You can always use the background feature in Google Meet to be able to blur your background or however you wish, but you should be turning on your cameras, right? So let's start today's lesson with a little task the question. Remember yesterday we played task the question, so that is the same thing we will be doing today, right? But before we jump into the questions, let's remember our basic rules. Be on time, be prepared, turn on your cameras, mute your microphone, self-confidence, respect others, and please no eating, right? No eating in the class. So I will go over the rules for the activity. So imagine you are playing toss the ball. The teacher will start off doing a question and then call on a student to answer another question. That student will answer and toss the other question to another student and so on. If you do not know the answer, toss the question to someone who might ask or someone you choose. So let's have this in order, right? I will call on someone. That someone will answer the question and toss the next question. Let's say when he finished giving his answer, he will say Loriani or Yuri or somebody else that will answer the following question, right? So I will start with the first question. 6 times 7 is 42. Tossing the next question to, let's say, Lisette. If you do not know the answer to set, then you can ask someone else to answer it for you. Lisette, are you there?
Sorry, Miss 32.
32. Great. To whom you want to toss the question? The next question.
Sorry.
To who? Isari. Isari, this is your question. Is Isari into this class? I don't remember seeing Isari.
I think no, Miss
Okay, you can toss it to somebody else.
Loriani.
Loriani.
72, Miss.
Very good, Loriani, 72. To whom you want to toss the next question?
To Ernest.
Ernest. This is your question, Ernest.
108, Miss.
108. Very good. To whom you want to toss the next question, Ernest?
To Emerson, Miss.
Emerson, this is your question.
54, Miss.
54. Very good. So to whom you want to toss the last question?
Mariel.
To whom?
Nice.
To whom I couldn't hear to whom you want.
Mariel, Miss.
Marian? Marian, can you answer this question?
56.
56. Very good, right? So why am I giving you multiplication tables? This is something you should know, and this will be very essential in today's class. I see many of you that do not have your cameras on. Let's please turn on our cameras. So now that we have answered these questions, I want you to ask you more questions. So do you think the other two operations follow the same rule as addition and subtraction of fractions? Who can answer me this? Do you think the other two operations follow the same rules as addition and subtraction of fractions? Ryan says
No,
no.
Miss.
Could you repeat, Lisette?
No, Miss.
No, says Lisette. And do you think that it is the same as dealing with whole numbers? Do you think that the two other operations will be as a multiplication of whole numbers like what we just did, or it will be different? Is that a difficult question? What do you think? Miss, that's a challenging question. Are you thinking that? Do you think it is the same as dealing with whole numbers? Emerson, are you paying attention? No, says Ryan. Just Ryan is answering today's class. What is happening? Okay, so if you do not want to share your thoughts with me, you say yes or no, then we will find out in today's class what happens with the other two operations. We will see if it follows the rules, the same rules, or if it is different or the same as dealing with whole numbers. So I think that by now you should know what will be our topic, right? Because the other two operations left are, which are the two other operations? Apart from addition and subtraction? What are the other two operations? Have you forgotten the four basic operations?
Multiplication and
Divide,
division.
multiply, and
Multiplication and division.
Okay, so if we have covered addition and subtraction, the two other operations left are multiplication and division, right? So that will be our topic for today, multiplication and division of fractions. So now that we know this, do you think that when we multiply a fraction by a fraction, the result is smaller or larger than the actual fractions computed? Or is it smaller than a whole number? What do you think? When we multiply a fraction by a fraction, is the result smaller or larger?
Smaller.
Smaller, says Marian. Who else think it's smaller? Larger, says Ryan. Okay. And what do you think when we divide? Is it smaller or larger? Smaller, says Ryan. The two Ryans. Smaller, says Emerson. Okay. So let's take a look at what our rule says, right? So we yes, I will just see what Yuri mentioned because I see. Okay, we will find out in just a little bit, right? So we start our concepts by multiplication of fractions, like and unlike, right? Multiplying a fraction by a fraction. To multiply two fractions, just multiply the numerators to get the numerator of the product, and multiply the denominators to get the denominator of the product. This is for multiplying a fraction by a fraction. We just multiply straightforward. Looking at some examples, we have 4/5 times 3/7, right? We multiply the numerators 4 times 3, which gives us 12, and we multiply the denominators, right? Which is 5 times 7, which gives us 35. So our answer will be that 12 over 35. It's nothing that difficult. The problem comes when we are doing improper fractions. Why? If we see the example, I think you cannot see it because well, it looks different in my phone and in my laptop, but we have 3 and 3/4 times 3/5. Because we have an improper, a mixed fraction, what should we do? What should we do to that fraction? Can we multiply by the other fraction as it is? Will we multiply the mixed fraction with the proper fraction, or we have to do something to it? What do you think? If we have 3 and 3/4 times 3/5, will we keep that 3 and 3/4 and multiply across?
Miss, you have to subtract the whole number.
Could you repeat, Yuri?
Need to subtract the whole number, Miss.
We have to do something, yes, but what is that? Good try, Yuri. What we do to a mixed fraction? Let's see if you were paying attention yesterday. What do we
Yes.
do? Yes, Ernest?
Reduce it with its lowest terms.
No, this is not the case. Remember, we are dealing with mixed fraction. Subtract the whole number, says Yuri. How will we subtract the whole number? Remember, a mixed fraction can be converted to a... Which type of fraction can it be converted? Which type of fraction can it be converted to? We just did this yesterday. If
Miss, you have to rewrite the mixed number to improper numbers.
Very good. We have to convert the mixed number to an improper fraction, right? When we do that, or after we convert it, we can start multiplying, right? And we can say the last statement that says canceling can be made by canceling a number in the top with the opposite number in the bottom. I'm not sure if you can clearly see the example that I have in blue, but that says if you take a look at step 2, when they have converted the mixed fraction to an improper fraction, we see that we have 15 over 4 times 3/5. So we cancel the 5 or the 15 in the top with the opposite number in the bottom, and the opposite number in the bottom is 5, so that cancels out, right? Because 5 can go into 15 3 times and 5 can go into 5 1 time. When we cancel out, we have our new answer, we multiply and have our result. If you are not asked to convert it to a mixed fraction again, do not convert it. Leave it as it is. However, if you want to convert it even though you are not asked to, I think it won't be so we won't subtract you points for that in the assignment, right? continuing, who wants to read this information? Can I have a volunteer to read this information? Just
Can
read.
do it, Miss.
Okay, Ernest.
Multiplying fractions. Multiplying a fraction and a whole number. To multiply a fraction by a whole number, remember that any integer can be written as fraction n over 1.
Okay, thank you, Ernest. So, to multiply a fraction by a whole number, we first have to put the whole number as a fraction, and that can be any integer can be a fraction just by putting the number over 1, right? So if we see in the examples there, if we take a look at 5 times 8 over 10, we put the 5 over 1 and then we multiply, right? The same thing happens with another example that I have way to the bottom. We see that first we have a mixed fraction, which we should convert to an improper fraction first, and then we multiply by 6 over 1. Why? Because any integer can be represented as a fraction just placing it over a 1, right? And that is the basic. Moving on to division. These are the examples. Do you have any question up to now?
No, miss.
No, Miss.
No, Miss.
I just heard 3 students.
No, Miss.
No, miss.
No, Miss. No, Miss.
No, miss.
Okay. So
No, miss.
moving on to division, right?
Miss, can you please explain one?
With okay, what we will do Lisette, when we finish this, we will practice some together, okay? I will show you how to start
Yes,
from
miss.
scratch, okay? So let's move on to division, dividing fraction. Who wants to read this one for me? Any volunteers? No volunteers?
Mr. Collegian,
Sure, Yuri, go ahead.
dividing fraction. Fraction by a fraction. To divide by a fraction, multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction. Reciprocal of second fraction.
Okay, thank you, Yuri. To divide by a fraction, the key word is by a fraction. That means that the second number is a fraction, right? The second, there, if we see 39 over 40 divided by 13 over 20, when we say that we are dividing by a fraction, that means that we are dividing by 13 over 20, right? So, what will happen to that 13 over 20? We will multiply now the fraction that we had by the reciprocal of that second fraction. So we have 39 over 40. That does not change. The first fraction, sorry, does not change. You will not change the first fraction. What you will change is what you are dividing by, which is 13 over 20. So you will change the division sign to a multiplication sign and do the reciprocal of the second fraction. In this case, it is 20 over 13, right? We multiply. If we have to cancel out, we cancel out, and we just have our answer there. So if we can see in this example, 39 over 40 times 20 over 13, that is the reciprocal of 13 over 20. Remember, we have covered reciprocals, so this shouldn't be something new to you. Now we can cancel out the 20 and the 40. 20 goes into 40 2 times, and 20 goes into 21 times, and 13 can go into 39 3 times, right? And we have our final multiplication there. We get our answer. So having more examples, we have for mixed fractions, which we have to convert first. The first step is to convert it. Even though you have a next fraction to the side, you are dividing by a fraction. The first step in mixed fractions will always be converting first. Why? Because if we see this example, 5 and 3/5 divided by 2 and 1/3, we converted first, so we have 28/5 divided by 7/3. If we do not convert first, then that means that our reciprocal will be wrong. So we need to do this step first in order to have the correct reciprocal. So what is the reciprocal of 7/3? What is the reciprocal of 7/3? No one remembers what is the reciprocal? Remember, the reciprocal is just the flipping, right? Very good, Ryan. The reciprocal is now 3/7. In the reciprocal, you just flip the numerator and the denominator. The denominator becomes the numerator, and the numerator becomes the denominator, right? So when we flip it, we have to change the sign to a multiplication. We cancel out and we compute our multiplication as it is. If you want to convert it back to a mixed number, that is what you do, right? I also have a next example there. 3/4 divided by 2/7. We keep the first fraction. Do not forget that we keep the first fraction. We change the sign and we flip or do the reciprocal of the second fraction, and then we multiply, right? So the last one is dividing fractions by a whole. Well, second to last one, dividing fractions by a whole. Make the whole a fraction by putting it over 1 and follow the same steps, multiply by reciprocal, right? So if we have 2/3 divided by 2, if we put that 2 as a fraction, we have 2/1. So what we will do is we will need to flip that and change the sign. So now we have 2/3 times a half, and we compute. Do not confuse dividing a fraction by a whole with dividing a whole by a fraction. See the difference? In this one, the one that will be kept the same is the fraction, right? The first one, 2/3. But dividing a whole by a fraction, what we keep the same is the first one. And the first one here is the whole number, right? Of course, we have to put it as a fraction, but that is the one we keep in this one. So dividing a whole by a fraction is not the same as dividing a fraction by a whole, right? So if we have 3 divided by 3/4, we put our 3 as a fraction, we change the sign, we flip our second fraction, and then we calculate, right? Any questions with these two that I just mentioned?
Miss.
No.
No? Are you sure?
Miss, can you repeat it again, please?
Which one do you want me to repeat, Loriani? This one or the two of them?
This one, Miss.
Okay. When we are dividing a whole by a fraction, the whole number is placed first because we are dividing by a fraction. So the fraction is the second one. So in this one, we follow the same step, just that the first one doesn't change, right? In every division, the first one does not change. Please remember that the first number or fraction that we have does not change. We keep it the same. However, this is a whole number, right? So we have to put it as a fraction. If we make it as a fraction, we have to put it over 1. If you can see at the solution here, we have 3/1, right? Now we change our division sign to multiplication and we flip the second fraction. So we flip it, now we have 4/3 and we cancel if we have to cancel and we just multiply the rest and we have our answer, right? So for you to have a better understanding of this, we will do 3 questions. We will do this together. Just let me... Okay. First, I have 5 6 times 2 thirds. This is a multiplication. So what is the first thing that we will do in this multiplication? Let me see if you are paying attention. What is the first thing that we will do? 5
We will
6.
flip it, Miss.
This is 5 6 times 2 thirds. This is not division, Lisette. This is multiplication. Remember that flipping comes in division, not multiplication.
Rewrite the
Let me rewrite it. Well, you can see it like this, right? Can we cancel? Can we cancel in this question? Can we cancel in this question?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah. What can we cancel?
The 5 and the 3.
The 5 and the 3. Can we divide 5 by 3? I don't think so.
No, miss. The 6 and the 2, miss.
Very good. The 6 and the 2. Right? This is as 1. And how many times can 2 go into 6?
3, miss.
3, Miss.
3. Very good. So now we have 5 over 3 times 1/3, right? And what do we do now? What do we do with the numerator?
You will leave it the same, Miss.
The numerator. Lisette.
multiply, Miss.
Very
Miss.
good. We multiply the numerator. So 5 times 1 is
5.
5. Very good. 5. Sorry. So it is 5. 5. And what happens to the denominator?
Stays the same, Miss.
Are you sure that it stays the same? We are not adding and subtracting fractions.
You have to multiply also, miss.
We have to multiply it also. This is not addition and subtraction. Remember, this is multiplication, right? So our answer is 5 over 9. So now we move on to the second one. 12 over 35 divided by 3 over 70. What is the first thing that we do? Which is the fraction that we keep? No one remembers which is the fraction that we will keep? The first one, right? The first one is what we always keep. The first one is what we will keep. What happens to the division sign?
Change to multiply.
We change it to multiplication. Very good. And what happens to the second fraction?
Flip it.
Flip it. We flip it or just find the reciprocal, which is the same thing just by flipping it, right? So now we have 70 over 3. Can we cancel?
Yes.
Yes, miss.
Okay, we can cancel the 3 and the 12, 1 and 4, and the 35 and 70.
Yes, miss.
Yes, right? 1 and 2 here. So our answer is 8 over 1, or simply 8, right? So moving on to the third question. 79 times 314. What is the first? 8. Remember, this is, we cancel the 3. Yes, we cancel the 3 and the 12. 1 here and 4. 3 can go into 12 4 times, and 35 can go into 72 times. So we just multiply across, right? So now we have 4 over 1 times 2 over 1, right? And that is it. So the last question. Can we cancel?
Yes.
We have 79 times 314. Can we cancel?
Yes.
Yes, right? We can cancel the 3. 3 can go into 9 3 times. And 3 can go in itself 1 time. And 7 and the 14, 1 and 2. So now we have 1/3 times a half, right? Remember, this is multiplication, so we do not have to flip. We flip in division and we change sign. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 2 is?
6.
6. Very good.
6.
Right? 6. Do you get it now, Lisette?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. So now you will do these 2 questions. Your turn to do it in your notebooks, right? Because of time, I think let's just do the second one. Let's do the second one. Number 2, that is what we will do, and then we start sharing our answers, right? I'll give you 1 to 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes for you to finish it, and then we continue. That is 2 1/3 divided by 1 1/8. Okay, you should be finished by now. So I'll give you like less than a minute to type in. Do not send your answer, just type in your answer, and when I count to 3, we will send our answers together, right? So let's just type our answer. Okay, and let's send our answer at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I just see. Okay, 2 and 3 over 32. 22, says Ryan. Many of you are saying 22. $21. What is the first thing that we should do? Change it to an improper fraction, right? So if we change the first fraction, we have 4 times 2, 8, 8 plus 3, 11. So we have 11 over 4 divided by 8 times 1, 8, 8 plus 1, 9, 9 over 8. So if we have 11 over 4 divided by 9 over 8, we have to flip the 9 over 8 to have 8 over 9. We cancel the 8 and the 4. So our answer should be 22 over 9, not just 22, right? So please go back to your notes on this. If you have to review it, it doesn't matter, but you need to know this, right? The answer is 22 over 9, or you can change it to a mixed number. If you change it to a mixed number, you have, what do you have? Are you sure that this is 2 and 1 8? If we change it, we should have 2 and 4 ninths, right? So to wrap up our class, what is an easier way to multiply and divide? What is an easier way to multiply and divide? Remember I told you can do this by, but if I give you a little hint, that will be the word itself. So it's just a word. What is an easier way to multiply and divide? That happens from one in the top and one in the bottom. What is that? Very good. It is canceling, right? Canceling. How it works? I just mentioned it we cancel from in the top to the opposite in the bottom. How can multiplication and division of fraction be related to your life? How can you use it? Do you have an idea of how it can be used? In cooking, very good. In cooking or baking, right? You need half of this plus a half of one other material and etc. Any more ideas on how can you use that? In a cake, yes, as I mentioned. In buying,
Construction, Miss.
construction, going to a shop, cutting a pizza, very good. These are all examples of this. So to finalize our class session, our final activity will be this question. An electrician has a piece of wire that is 4 and 3/8 centimeters long. She divides the wire into pieces that are 1 and 2/3 centimeters long. How many pieces does she have? Let's do this quickly. We have 2 minutes to do it and 1 minute to present our work, right? Let's see who can interpret this question. Miss, you did not give us word problems, but I gave you the basics, so you should know how to do this one. Please do it in your notebook and show your steps, each step that you do, because I will be asking some of you to turn on your cameras and share. Okay, you have less than a minute to finish your work. Ernest, have you finished?
No, Miss, I got confused which one goes arriba and which one goes abajo.
Which one goes arriba, which one goes abajo? Remember, you are dividing 4 and 3 by 1 and 2/3. By 1 and 2/3. So that means that you remember first you have to turn this or convert this one in proper fraction. Then keep the first one, change your sign, flip the second one, and then compute, right? So is anyone finished? Or do you get confused as Ernest?
Yes, miss.
Did you get confused? Why, it's a worded problem, right? This is more challenging, Miss. How
Miss,
do
I
you...
hate that I don't like word problem.
Well, I'm so sorry for those of you that do not like worded problems, but the cycle will be mostly of worded problems, right? Why? Because you should know how to solve these. Okay, so
Miss, I got an answer, Miss.
okay, Ernest, can you share your answer? It sounds like if it was addition, says Ryan. It says she divides the wire into pieces. So if she is dividing, then that should not be addition, right? Ernest, can you turn on your camera and show me, and I will guide each and every one here. Okay, can you put it a little closer? Just a moment, I will pin it to my screen so I can see it clearly. Okay, Ernest has 33 over 35 or 35 over 3. How do you get that answer, Ernest? Remember, if you are turning to an improper fraction, we have 4 and 3/8. So we multiply the 8 and the 4, that is, how much is that? 4 times 8?
32.
32 plus 3, 35 over 8. So our first fraction is 35 over 8 times the second fraction should be 1 and 2/3. We change that. So we have 1 times 3 plus 2, 5, 5 over 3. Not 2 over 5, Ernest. 5 over 3.
I told you, Miss, I got confused.
You got confused? So remember, I told you that if you do not know how to convert again, you should go and review it. Why? Because I will not cover that again. You should have known this. Emerson says he got 21/8. That is the answer, 21/8. So if you did not get that answer, please go back and do that question, or go back and review, take a look at the PowerPoint, at the examples that I showed, because this will be in the recording, and try it again. This will be very essential because tomorrow we will be doing another thing, and Thursday more worded problems, right? So please review this, right? So the correct answer is 21/8. So if you did not get that answer, please go back and redo this question. Right? So any more questions?
No, miss.
Please go back and review the also the conversion of mixed to improper. I cannot cover that because this is not something we should do in this class. You should have known that. Right? So that is the end of our class. I'm sorry for taking a little bit of your time. Yes, Gerald, thank you for letting me know. I'm sorry for taking a little bit of your time, but it is very important for you to know this and how to interpret worded problems, right? So this was just a little beginning, because we will be doing more problems, right? So that is the end of our class. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, right? I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye,
Bye, miss.
Bichon. Goodbye, Emerson. Goodbye, Marie.
Bye, miss.
Goodbye. Yes, Kevin. Good for you, right? Goodbye, Kevin. Goodbye, Gerald. Bye, Pascual. Goodbye.
Bye, miss.
Bye, Yuri. Goodbye, Jason.
Bye, miss.
Bye, Anna. Goodbye. Emerson. Emerson, you should not be afraid to show your work, right? I always tell you, you should have self-confidence. You can show student, I can do it, right? Because your answer was correct, so I can do it. Goodbye, Kami.
Bye, miss. Have a good day.
Thank you, Loriani. Goodbye.
Bye, miss.
Bye, Sari.
Bye, miss.
Goodbye.